Dear students, in the previous class I have discussed about the uh, chapter 4 in control and quality assurance in, or the chapter 4, that is documentation in pharmaceutical industry. And I have discussed about the documentation and how to prepare the document and how to retain the document and what are the retrieval process of document and standard operating procedures, how to write, and even master formula record, batch formula record, master production control records, batch production control records, etc. So today I'll talk about the remaining topics in the same chapter, that is the distribution of the records, quality audit plans and reports, and test. So coming to the distribution of records, the records of distribution should be maintained in such a way that a finished batch of a drug can be traced to a retail level. So it has to be distributed, and it should also allow the prompt and complete recall of batch whenever and wherever necessary. Then the what should be recorded, whether it is for raw materials, and yes, raw materials, packaging materials, finished products, and batch number, status, quantities, expiry date, manual or in electronic form. So those things should be recorded, and the distribution record per batch number, quantity, and destination of each delivery. And whether the record should be stored, yes, they should be stored, and they are also very much important. And what specifications to be included in the document? So as per the GMP has also described the specifications to be included in the documents. So they are, number one, the specification for the starting and packaging materials. So what is that? Specification for starting material, packaging material, or even you take the printed material, you should provide the description of materials, which includes the designated name and internal code of reference. The reference to any pharmacopoeial monograph and to a qualitative and quantitative requirements with acceptance limits. Okay, that is the one. And in continuation of that, so depending on the specification of the company, the other data like in case supplier information, specimen of printed materials, or directions for sampling, even testing, storage conditions, which are quite required, and time period of storage. So all these things should be included in the document. Then second one, specification for intermediate and bulk products. So on the first one, what we have seen, the specification for starting and material. And the second one is the specifications for intermediate and bulk products. So these specifications should be similar for the similar to what the specification for starting materials or even for the finished products as appropriate. Okay, so quite similar. Then third one, specification for finished product. So it should include the name of product along with its code reference, the designated name of its API, formula, description of the dosage form, its packing details, directions for sampling, and so that means it includes all the name of the product along with its reference, code reference, API, formula, description, packing material, directions, testing, sampling, storage conditions, even the shelf life. Both qualitative and quantitative requirements should also be included. Then quality control documentation. So again, let us see in the quality control department what could be the documentation maintained. So as per again GMP, there are some important documents readily available to quality control department of the company. So they are number one, the specification of the RM, PM, intermediate, that means raw material, so on for intermediate and finished product. Then sampling procedures for above compounds, testing procedures and records, analytical reports, certificates, data from environmental monitoring, validation records of test methods, and seventh one is the procedure for calibration of instruments and maintenance of the instruments or equipments. Then all QC documentation which are quite related to each batch record. Then trend evaluation data should be maintained for yields, environmental controls, and analytical standards. Tenth one is complete record has to be maintained for any modification in established method of testing. Then 11th one is the complete record should be maintained for periodic calibrations of the lab instruments, even apparatus, gauges, and recording devices. So they need to do the periodic calibration. And complete record should be maintained for stability testing. Complete record should be maintained for testing of lab standards, reagents, standard solution. For each and everything, they have to maintain a document. And that's about the quality control department documentation in brief. So let us see about the quality audit plan. Quality audit plan. So we all know that what is meant by audit, and again the name given quality audit. So the quality audit, it's defined as a systematic and independent examination in order to determine whether the activities and related results they comply with the planned arrangements and whether these arrangements are implemented effectively and are suitable to the objects. Okay, that is the quality audit. So then what could be the contents in the quality audit? So let us see about the definition. Just now we talked about the definition and what are the major objectives, difference between quality audit and the periodic evaluation, and even self-inspection, types of quality audit, role of GMP audit in QA and QC programs, elements of a systemic audit program, systematic. Okay, so then quality audit means systematic examination of a quality system. Quality audits are typically performed at different intervals, and if there is any failure in their proper implementation, may be published publicly and may lead to a revocation of quality certification. Okay, that is nothing but audit is nothing but the industry itself, or from there are different types of quality audits are there. Let me talk about on later stages. That means after these objectives. Pharmaceutical objectives of the quality audit. Pharmaceutical manufacturers, so commonly they use the audits. Why? As an effective mechanism in order to verify compliance with the GMP regulations. So each and every pharmaceutical industry or manufacturer, so they should have an audit every year as and when required in order to, because they have to follow the GMP regulations, whether they are complying with the GMP or any regulatory authorities or not. The GMP audits with important goals. Let us see about the GMP audits with their important goals. So the audits, this is spelling mistake is there. Audits are intended to verify that manufacturing and control systems are operating under a state of control or not. Then audits permit timely correction of what potential problems they get. And audits can be used to establish a high degree of confidence to remain under an adequate level of control by management. Then, what is a major difference between the audit and the periodic evaluation? See here, audit quality audit is a periodic, dependent, and documented examination and verification of the activities, records, processes, and other elements of a quality system to determine their conformity with the requirements of a quality standard such as. So that is quality audit. It's a periodic and even independent and even the verification examination of all. Then what about the periodic evaluation? See, periodic evaluations are routine reviews and assessments of the quality standards of each drug product that are made to determine the need for changes in a or manufacturing or the control procedure. So auditors should not have the direct responsibilities for the operations they review. They should not have. And sometimes the employees who are directly responsible for system under review normally perform periodic evaluations. And what for we do? The audit is a function of quality assurance. And periodic evaluation is a function of quality control department. So to verify on a regular basis that forms, procedures, and practices are in conformity with established standard operation procedures and applicable GMPs. So then the periodic evaluation determine the need for change in product. They determine the need for change in the product in case or specifications or control procedures, and then they implement if it is periodic evaluations. And the auditors, the definitely they will examine and verify. The auditors they review the SOPs and the employee practices and behaviors to see how well they follow the already established standard operating procedures. Then this auditors it plays a primary role in day-to-day decision-making process also. It is used by the quality control unit. Okay, because of the audit, we can have a lot of information from all the department, and then they can take the decision what to be done. And the report has to be prepared by the again quality control. Then quality control management personnel. So usually they conduct the periodic evaluations. Periodic evaluation. So what is the major principle in this? To evaluate the manufacturer compliance with GMP in all aspects of production and control. Major principle. What should evaluate the manufacturer compliance with GMP in all aspects of production and quality control. And it is designated to detect any shortcomings in the implementation of the GMP and to record the to recommend the necessary corrective actions that are performed routinely as well as on special occasions. Example, in case of product recall or prepared rejections. So then, self-inspection. Themselves, they can do the inspections. What are the different items of self-inspection? That means different types. The personal one, that is self-inspection. Premises, including personal facilities, maintenance of buildings and equipment, storage of starting materials and finished products, equipments, production and in-process controls, quality control, documentation, sanitation and hygiene, validation and revalidation programs, calibration of instruments or measurement systems, or any recall procedures, compliance management, labels control, results of previous self-inspections, and any corrective steps are taken. So these many are there for self-inspection. Repeat the personal premises including personal facilities, maintenance of buildings and equipments, storage of starting and finished products, equipments, production and in-process controls, quality control, documentation, sanitation and hygiene, validation and revalidation programs, calibration of instruments, recall procedures, complaints management, labels control, results of previous self-inspections and any corrective steps that are taken. So those are the few items of the self-inspection. So then we'll see now the types of quality audit. The audit is a very, very important step in any pharmaceutical industry. So based on the audit only, they can give the quality of the product. The quality audit system, that is why it is named as quality audit. The quality audit system mainly classified in three different categories. One is the internal audits, external audits, and regulatory audits. There are three types. Repeat: internal audits, external audits, and regulatory audits. So we discuss in detail all these three. Let us first look into the internal audit. What is a major purpose of internal audit? Importance. So in order to ensure that the adequate quality systems are maintained or not, and process the compliance with the current good manufacturing practices and firms SOPs, then to achieve the consistency between the manufacturing and the testing facilities, and also to identify problems internally and correct problems prior to a FDA inspections. So what is that internal? Audit is nothing but what is purpose, the adequate quality system, how to ensure they are maintained or not, and whether they are complying with the CGMPs and SOPs, and whether they are maintaining the consistency between manufacturing and testing facilities, and also they can identify the problems internally and the correct problems prior to they have any FDA inspections. So they can correct it and they can solve the problems. So then again, there are different types of internal audit again. So that is tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. So three types of internal audit: tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So what is the tier 1 audit? Tier 1 audits can be carried out by the staff of a section, same industry. They can be carried out by the any staff of any department themselves. So these audits are very short and limited scope and focuses on visible such as housekeeping, documentation. So here audits are selected on basis of their knowledge as well as the experience of the area to be audited. Senior personnel, experienced personnel can be given this task. Tier 1. Tier 2. Tier 2 audits led by the local QA group comprising staffs independent of the department under audit here also, and focus more on systems usually, and extensive audit training with more details on quality systems and audit techniques is required for auditors. That is tier 2, and tier 3 it is nothing but the external, apart from their industry, apart from their company, they'll call the external persons as auditors. That is external consultants may be used here, tier 3. So they are the auditors are highly trained, external consultant. They are highly trained and experienced specialists with an expert knowledge of GMP and other regulatory requirements for pharmaceuticals. So such type of persons they'll call, and it is carried out to assess the readiness for a regulatory audit. When they'll call, if they want to face any FDA or anything, the regulatory auditing, in such cases, they'll call the external consultants. They're highly trained and experienced. So then how to design this internal audit system. In a pharmaceutical facility for internal auditing, so we require to check mainly two things, namely the activities are carried out by different departments or not, and documents maintained by these departments or not. Okay. So for that reason, they will design the internal audit only for checking purpose. External audit, second one, because I told you three types: internal audit, external audit. Okay, one more is there, and that is regulatory audit. So here also, what is the purpose of the external audit? So they build the confidence in the partnership arrangements, ensuring that the requirements are understood, and enabling reduction of in-house quality control testing of starting materials. And in many cases, the failure will be there. They can reduce the purpose, the risk of failures, and also they can carry out the company on its vendors or subcontractors, and no legal requirements for to conduct the audit. Or that they doesn't require any legal requirement. And external auditors have experience of GMP and as well as regulatory audited by their certification bodies. They call themselves, their industry will call the audits. And what is this regulatory audit? This is very important task for any pharmaceutical industry and challenges. So this regulatory audit can be carried out by whom? Regulatory bodies such as MCA, UK, USA, and so on for manufacturing and the supply of the pharmaceutical products. Okay, that's the reason they will conduct this regulatory audit. And so whenever they conduct these regulatory audits may be unannounced without prior intimation also they can. And then a failure of, in case any industry, pharmaceutical industry, failure of regulatory audit, so then the regulatory audit, they will withdraw the manufacturing or even for import or even for export license. So after they conduct the audit, that is regulatory authorities, a formal report will be delivered to the respective agencies. Okay, that is regulatory audit. Then role of GMP audits in QA and QC programs. What is the major role of the good manufacturing practice, that is GMP audits in both QC and QA? What is to be audited in these departments? So here compare the master specifications against compendial and the other regulatory requirements. I have to compare specifications and verify the test data and validation testing. Validation test reports are compared against raw data, whether it is correct or not. And they can also verify the corrective actions taken in reactions to audit finding, even SOPs, employees practices and behavior, and ensuring GMP compliance. Benefits which are derived from the audits are given below: assuring GMP compliance, and they can detect the potential problems. They can assure the GMP compliances because there are plenty of benefits which can derive from the audits. So what is this? Assuring GMP compliance, detecting the potential problems, affecting program improvement, and increasing the management awareness. Then FDA also conducts the routine inspections of all pharmaceutical manufacturers in order to determine if a manufacturing and control procedures whether they conform to GMPs or not. That is one. And And they can also make, FDA investigators, they can also make unannounced visits without intimation, prior intimation to the manufacturing facilities in order to examine the facilities and equipments, personnel, they're qualified, experienced, or trained or not, and even records also. At any time they can come and they can make the investigations, MBA. Then detecting the potential problems. GMP audits find the objection condition that is unknown to responsible production. QC/QA management personnels. The auditors will see whether such actions are frequent or not. From this, they can signal other GMP problems. Okay, that's most important. And affecting program improvements. Affecting program improvements. What we can have? Changing the SOPs. We can modifying manufacturing equipment. We can or procedures and upgrading the equipment or procedure that can also be done. Improving employee training programs and developing new or revised documentary systems. Okay, that is one. Then increasing management awareness is also important task. Important aspect. What is this exactly? For any given audits, there are two outcomes. Either problems are found or not. Okay. In case if the problems are found, the management takes an appropriate steps to eliminate the problem. Okay. Then an audit is not finding any objection conditions. Either there were no problems to be found, auditor failed to detect the objection conditions sometimes that were actually present. They may fail even auditing also. Okay, that's there. And then elements of a systematic audit program. Systematic audit program. So in these key elements, number one, expectations and philosophies. Then audit formats and approaches. That means the checklist format, GMP regulation approach, term analysis methods. Second one. Third one is the checklist return criteria and SOPs. Fourth one, planned periodic frequency for audit, and especially trained personals. Then sixth one, finding return audit reports. Okay, so these some six are there. The key elements, that means elements of a systematic audit program. Let us see one by one. What is this expectations and philosophies? The senior management establishes the fundamental expectations of the audit. Then upper level management, the higher level, must establish the realistic goals and objectives also. Then use of formal written master plan that has to be approved by the management. That's the first one. Second one, audit format and approach. The manual GMP audit methods can be divided into categories: checklist format, GMP regulation approach, systems analysis method. Checklist format. So use checklist as GMP audit guidelines, guides, and reports. You can report the findings. Same GMP guidelines checklist you can use. And that's format I'm talking. Series of questions or instructions are grouped into logical order. Then blocks may be used to record answer and space may be provided to make the comments. And what are the advantages of this? A simple, convenient, and easy to use for any desired subjected area. That's one. Knowledgeable personnels may be develop questions and guidelines. Questions are in logical order that help auditor to detect the problems. That's also there. And report can be prepared in a minimum amount of. The major disadvantage is questions may be interrupted in more than one way because of bias or hidden meaning. Then solve the devising questions is not easy task. Limited content, the amount and type of questions that are provided limited. Not every issue will be covered here. Each auditor must apply sound judgment when evaluating system. Then GMP regulation format. What is this format, GMP regulation? The basic elements are derived from the following subpart of the regulation. There are plenty are there. Subpart of regulations. Subpart B, subpart C, D, E, F, G. Sorry, G is not there. H, I, J, K. So what is the subpart B? Subpart B is nothing but for the organization and personals, and C is for building and what facilities they have, and B is for whether the equipments they have provided or not, and E is production area and processing controls, and F again production and packaging control. That is, E is production and processing control, and F is production and packaging control. H is holding and distribution. I is lab control. Subpart J is records and reports. Subpart K is written and salvaged. So 9 is there. So systematic potential problem analysis. So there is a spelling mistake, not systemic, systematic, and likely to affect the quality of the product. These FDA investigators describe the organized method for determining potential problems. Then written criteria and SOP. So in this case, they need to be established defining which audit data or elements are to be considered part in the assessment of the program performance. Then effective use of the written criteria to ensure that the conditions and practices may remain under a suitable state of control. Then SOP should establish formal written SOP should fully describe the details for carrying out the various audit functions. Then the responsibilities for audit data review. Then personal responsible for recommendations. Then decisions concerning corrective actions. Fourth one is the planned periodic frequency. In this case, each firm must establish the optimum time interval between audits based on several important factors like what is the intended purpose, objective scope and depth, prior history of audit findings. So the two types of visits can be done depending on the type of audit. One is announced visit also they can do, and unannounced audit can also be done. So announced visits. So they'll give a notice to the pharmaceutical industry in advance before they come for the audit. That is, advance notice is given before the audit. It is not necessary for two reasons. The employee covers up the problem that is there. The person makes major adjustment in their behavior. That's the benefits. Audit efficiency is improved from advance notification. Because of that, they can improve. And necessary records, all records on which are necessary, may be organized and retrieved in the preparation for the audit, and the key personnel become available. Those are the major benefits in announced visits and unannounced audits. To review conditions and practices that is normal or customary as possible, and for observing of employee behavior as well as observation of equipments and facilities. Then what benefits? Allows observation of normal condition and practices. Then specially trained personnels. Fifth one. The following personal factors deserve systemic attention: defining auditor qualification, documentation, training skills and experience, selecting audit teams, maintaining auditor awareness levels, So we'll look into each one. Defining auditor qualification. Selected basis on their knowledge, experience in manufacturing QC principles, as well as years of first-hand experience dealing with GMP matters. An essential auditor skill is aware of or not firm is SOPs and knowledge integrated by various departments. Then documentation, training, skills, and experience. There are two formats again. One is scientific principles and the training under chemistry, engineering, statistical, and pharmaceutics. GMP training may include the cumulative knowledge from years of experience. Then this knowledge comes from whether the daily activities, formal training sessions is there, and selecting audit teams. How to select. Limitations of personal audit. So they'll select the experienced and knowledgeable persons, individual one, and emphasize on familiar issues as well as for a particular area. Then team is required for cover many different systems and large amount of data. And the composition of team will vary depending upon the nature and scope of the audit. So then leader is usually a senior auditor who has extensive knowledge of the firm's operation and exhibiting strong leadership qualities. I'm talking about the selection of the audit teams. Okay, team size depends upon total number of product manufacturing and control system, breadth and depth of the audit objective, and reporting audit findings. Okay, there are two important reporting phases. One is preliminary reports during the audit, and after that, final report. They'll submit to the management. Preliminary reports during the audit. What are the benefits? Benefits can be gained from having dialogues with employees, and finding is communicated with affected persons. Discussion may help the employees to learn what and why problems have happened. That is preliminary. And then final report, the management. Management must review the final reports and determine what steps need to be taken to eliminate all the deficiencies which are reported. Management should sincerely encourage the detection of problems and express the appreciation for being able to improve the quality operations. Then the audit reports may be shared with manager, supervisor, may discuss finding with the employees. They have to share that. Then workers and supervisory personnel should be given the opportunity to explain their views and ideas about the audit findings. Cleaning validation protocols and reports. So this I will take up in the next class and including the references. Thank you.